Well, welcome back to the show. As always, it is such an honor to be here with you guys. And I'm excited for our next guest, Beth Stanfield. This woman, she is a powerhouse. She is a successful attorney with a dream job at one of the top law firms, providing sophisticated legal counsel to business owners all over the nation, and is diving into her new, I would say, branch, utilizing her expertise now to serve us as female entrepreneurs. The new branch of her business, Lyona, which is a business building platform designed to counsel, equip, and inspire a new generation of female entrepreneurs by providing us, you and me listening, with three integrated pillars of support: essential legal services, which is the foundation; business mentorship, which is the structure; and then brand consulting, which is the message, which is check, check, check. Important, important, important. We all need these, and so important. So, Beth, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Me too. I love it. It's making my day to be on here.
So fun. I would actually just want to dive right on in, and we'll get to some of your story in just a little bit. But obviously, knowing that our audience is a bunch of women in business, female entrepreneurs, and you with your expertise in as an attorney, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you actually see women or people in business
Mm,
making, that you're like, red flag, stop doing that, fix this right
yes.
now, type of a thing?
Yes. Okay. I got it. I got you. Okay. This one, if there was a one, two, or three, this one would be one with a huge gap between two and three. Okay. This is the number one. Women defer way too much. All right. We will take the second chair. We don't take the first chair. We
Hmm.
walk in a room, imagine that you're coming into a meeting, right? You're walking in, you got the heels on, you look good, you feel good. All of the chairs at the conference room in the big glass, 33rd floor, they're all the people that are supposed to be in that meeting are there. You walk in, there's one seat open. You walk up there and you go, "Excuse me, is anyone sitting in this seat? Is this seat taken?" No, of course the seat's not taken. Go sit in the seat. You're supposed to be there, right?
Yeah.
And like women, we have been conditioned, but it's not just our external conditioning, it's our internal conditioning too. You know, our mindset is typically like, I was invited to the meeting. I hope I've done the right things. I hope I've planned accordingly. No, no. Your energy coming into that room should be like, I called this meeting. Even if you didn't call the meeting, you
Hmm.
should come into it like, I called the meeting. And you should 100%, if you have the opportunity, take the head of the table seat, even if you didn't call the meeting. Your energy should be, these people are lucky for me to be here. And we do not have that energy in
Hmm.
business. We don't. We have more of an apologetic, I hope they like me. I'm trying to get my name out there. I'm trying to da da da. And it's like this, we've all heard like sort of that ceiling element, but in business, the dudes just come right in there and take the seat. They don't ask,
Right.
right? They just feel like they know that they belong. Um, and we ask, and we just need to
Hmm.
stop asking. We just need to just go, I do belong here.
Yeah.
You do. And let your wisdom speak for itself. Let the things that you're worried about, that you're checking off on your list, just move in there knowing you did the prep to get to the meeting and then just flow.
Yeah.
That's what I would, if I saw that more in my 18-year career part of my life, I would have seen more women rise to the multi-millions, and I didn't.
Hmm.
And that's a huge part of what I'm doing now, but I didn't see that. I saw the men being able to put themselves in positions to make the big money and the big deals, but the women didn't put themselves in those rooms. They just didn't know if they belonged. They questioned it.
Hmm. Did you ever experience, like, was this a personal story or journey that you went through to like to actually have the conviction that you have about this topic? Because I typically see that when we are like, oh, like I'm passionate about something, like this is like the number one thing, it actually comes from a personal journey. So did that
Yeah.
come from a personal journey, or is it just more of a like a trend that you have seen being more in a corporate career and in a corporate position? And I would even say like,
Mhm.
and you can totally correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not in that world. But in in the legal industry, I would assume there's probably more men than women. So maybe it was just like the environment that you were in, that seeing a lot of men just kind of take that spot. So was it a personal journey? And if so, invite us into that journey.
Yeah. It's definitely a personal journey, but it was probably equal parts personal and observational.
Yeah.
And so I would observe the things that I knew that were in me. And so when you see it in yourself, you see it more and more outside too. So where I didn't have the courage to step out
Mm.
for decades, right? I was in that environment for 18 years. It's a long time to be a corporate yes girl. I did not have the courage or the belief or even the insight. I just didn't even know really what was out there. Because when you're in an environment that is very much controlled by masculine energy, it doesn't really matter if it's largely male or female in terms of the gender breakdown. It's really more an element of what is the overriding energy in this space. And it's absolutely predominantly male. Everything is planned, everything is orchestrated. So very little of it is intuitive or emotionally approved. You don't bring that part of you into business. So the men and the women that exceed and really achieve in that environment, they the men continue to just operate the way that they do, which is not neither bad nor good. But with the women, I saw them essentially taking on a way of living and believing, which was, if I'm going to succeed in this environment, I have to become a toxic male.
Mm.
And so, yes, I have had countless experiences where the choice was put in front of me. Am I going to become the toxic male? Am I going to exhibit those attributes or not? I never made the choice to become the toxic male, but I didn't know there was any other way. So I just shut down.
Mm.
I just shut down. And a huge part of who I am as a human just wasn't allowed to exist. So I was existing like in 10, 20% of who I actually am for
Yeah.
a very long period of time.
What was that like for you?
It hurt. And what happens when you shut down your humanness, when you shut down a huge part of who you are, when you tell yourself that in order to function in a certain environment, in a masculine environment, or any environment that is not aligned with who you really are, when you shut down your body, your mind, what will end up happening is that you will hurt yourself in other ways. And in my case, I turned to alcohol.
Mm.
That was my way of medicating. And so I medicated my way through that because I didn't believe there was any other option. I believed if you go to law school and you're good at your job and you exceed expectations and you continue to get raises and everybody loves your work product and all your clients love you and you win all the cases and the trials, surely you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But in order to survive shutting such a huge part of myself down, the creativity, the intuition, the desire to really truly embrace and help women soar in business. It's always been my passion. But because I shut all that down, I I found that I had to cope with the worst of the worst
Mm.
until I kicked it all in 2018.
Wow. So it sounds like there was just a big disconnect. You're having all of these really great external validation, success, like climbing the ladder. But there's this huge disconnect between this external world and your internal world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really hard, when you're in any type of environment where there's a fundamental misalignment with what you're doing from an identity and a professional standpoint, and who you were called to be,
Right.
and I've always been obsessed with this quote from Stephen Pressfield from his book, The War of Art, which is definitely on my top 5 books to read. But the quote is something like this: everyone is born with 2 lives. That's the life that we live, and then the unlived life within us. That unlived life. And then between the two stands resistance. And I really, truly believe that about not only myself, but all of the women that I come in contact to know that there's got to be something more than this corporate world that we've allowed ourselves to become beholden to, and more to just doing the right things to become acceptable to whoever you're applying for that job for, that office management job or whatever it is. And you've got these gifts, and you have these desires, and you have these things. That's the unlived life. And that is, coming out of that. I didn't even really know what the vision for Lyona was, truly. I just, honestly, 3 months ago, I thought I was just going to start my own law firm. That is as much of the vision that I could see.
Right.
That was it. That's all I had. And then when I got out, about a month into it, and of course, this is part of being part of the Powerhouse Women community, you're like, whoa, there are a lot of people out here showing me the way.
Yeah.
And then it made me realize I can serve people so much more holistically than I thought. I don't have to just go, I'm the lawyer and I can help you with your contracts. I can meet you where you are and provide you with some of the practical things that you need to run a business. I mean, obviously that's essential, and a lot of us are winging it, but that's just one part of it. To me, the huge part of it is calling out that unlived life in the woman who wants to break out, have freedom, and do this whole job thing, this whole living your life thing in their own way.
I love that so much. That's so good. So for you, what was the moment where you were just like, I like to call it the divine discontentment, where you can no longer ignore. And I talk about this in my book. I have a book, it's called Meant for More, Igniting Your Purpose in a World That Tries to Dim Your Light. And I talk about this divine discontentment where you can no longer ignore the discontentment. And there is typically a moment, it's like the meant for more moment, where it's like, what I'm doing now is no longer okay. And I like have to dramatically take, like I have to burn the boats, and I've got to do the whatever pivot. I'm so uncomfortable. Like I'm willing to make it messy and to fail, and to like, I know that there's more out there for me. Like, what was that moment for you? Take us into that spot.
Yeah. There were a couple different pivotal things I'll explain, but they actually came to light at the same time. Yeah. There were 2 things. So I have had this sense that I was moving into a place of great risk, which not only naturally, but also just in terms of upbringing, personality type, all of that risk. And then, of course, as an attorney, risk is not something that we invite. It's not something we encourage. We spend a lot of time mitigating against risk. We do all the things to eliminate as much risk as possible. So I kept thinking, let's try to sort of move into those spaces that I really feel the energy, right? And even to say that seems weird, because I would never a year ago even use words like move into where I feel the energy, because that feels very, like, who uses that type of language?
Very woo woo.
Very woo. Very woo. And but okay, but it's real. It is real. What it means is if you spend, 90% of your thoughts and your decisions are made through your executive functioning, masculine oriented life, it does feel like opposite day when you start making decisions from your intuition, right? But when I started thinking along those lines, that's when I started realizing things are making sense now.
Right.
Things are making sense now. And it shines a light, it casts a new view upon the reality that you've accepted. You can no longer look at it the same way because your intuition is showing it to you more clearly. So, over the last year, 2023, end of 2022, 2023, I started to realize it's time and I'm preparing myself for this shift. But here's the problem. You have a salary and you've, done all the right things. So you keep getting the raises and you get this really great paycheck and you're responsible and, you've got kids in a house, and right? So at what point do you know that it's time to quit your job? At what point do you know that you can do that? Like, you don't just wake up one day and go, okay, on October 15, I'm going to just go ahead and say no to a big fat paycheck and go on my own. No, no, no. You don't do that. You try to think of all the ways that you can make baby steps to get you there. So I kind of just put a couple things before me to say, kind of a couple things to lay out. And I'll say, well, wait for this to happen, wait for this to happen, wait for this to happen. Those things never happen. The things that you're waiting for, they never happen because you do good in your job, right? You keep doing well. Nothing bad's going to happen, right? So what ended up happening is this. I said, all right, well, I will know that because I have become more public about the things that I really love, which is dance fitness, and I'm going to start posting a little bit more publicly my joy of the fact that I do dance fitness instruction with Turn Up Dance Fitness. I'll be a little bit more public about that. And I'm also going to start speaking up more about how some of the women in my office are being mistreated and some sexist behavior that is very evident. I'm going to start speaking up about that. That was in September of this year. I did those two things. I let my Instagram become public and I wrote an email about a very, very blatant example of sexism against one of the very, very high-powered male partners from the firm. And I went straight to the top and I laid it out to the manager of the firm, the general manager. Within 5 days, I was blacklisted. I was blacklisted. And I knew that in that environment, I took a huge risk to address it so directly. And I was willing to take that risk. But I wasn't ready. I didn't have a backup plan. I had dreams. I had goals. I think I knew what I wanted to do. Like I was saying earlier, I had the dream to start your own law firm. And then that element right there, I was blacklisted as a problem within the law firm. And they decided to handle things in a really, really, I think, regrettable way, which just showed me what the true colors were, right? It didn't show me, there wasn't anything they could do to me personally. But in terms of the internal market of the law firm, I was labeled as, one of those. So that I knew was very problematic, and it was my message that it's time. And then as this is how the two roads kind of come together. As I was giving my notice, one of the individuals who was a partner and in a little bit more of my supervisory line, who I reported to here, one of the equity partners there, he made a snide comment about my departure and said, well, good luck with your dance career. And I remember just thinking, the point of it was his way of making fun of the fact that I dance.
Yeah.
And how me being public about dancing and showing more than just the one element of my life, which is a professional, female attorney, all he could see was, here's somebody who danced, and now your credibility in this environment is shot.
Mhm.
So those were the things that made me realize it's time. It
Yeah.
is time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now with Lyona, you are providing this foundation, which is so beautiful, of legal advice for female entrepreneurs. So, what are some of the things that female entrepreneurs and women in business need to know when it comes to how to protect themselves and their business legally?
Well, I think the first thing is that when you're a new and you're beginning, you're not going to be able to afford, nor would it be even advisable to afford an attorney that's assisting you with every single contract, with every single project. The budget is limited, and you're not at the stage where you may need a level of hands-on review, sophisticated review. So the way that I have thought through, what do female entrepreneurs really need? They really need, when you're starting, you need something that is accessible, you need something that's affordable, and you need something that's very, very tangible, like a person that you can reach to just to help with some of the basic questions, just
Yeah.
the basics. So what I'm putting together for female entrepreneurs that are probably within the first couple years, but it kind of depends on how quickly they raise revenue, because you could get over that beginning pretty fast, just depending on how well you scale. But for the beginning, it's really just an essentials. It's a packet of documents that you need to start and maintain your foundation of the business. So your terms and conditions, your basic contracts, your privacy materials, like if you're doing podcast, waivers, disclaimers, return type of things. These are the type of things that they're basic, but you've got to have them. Otherwise, you can't scale to the next level. You can't get from the beginning to the next level, because you end up having to go back and forth with these, with those beginner type of items.
Right. Are you,
and then just somebody they can go to.
Yeah, you're probably leaving yourself open for, to be exposed in a certain way legally, or it just is this really vulnerable spot that I would assume.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially if you've got a product or service that is public facing, where you've got a community that know you and like you and you trust, but then there's also people that are attracted to your product or your service, and you just never know. And they're all out there, and unfortunately some people do try to take advantage, or will try to get a free deal, and so it just shores up those day one essentials.
Right.
And then the second part is really more hands-on, a higher level of of support for individuals who are ready to go to that next level. And that's more higher level contracts, joint agreements, just, you can take your branding to the next level. You may not have, some people don't have the ability to spend on trademarking until they get about 6 months in. But when you get about 6 months in, a lot of folks are ready to go ahead and get their brands trademarked and their copyrights and all of that in place too. But I do say, do that as early as you can, because that's pretty fundamental.
Oh, for sure.
The trademark work.
For sure. I'm actually just finishing up some messy trademark stuff with another brand that I had that someone began to impose on. I had first rights in the business world, and they just trampled right on over it. And it's been going on for years in this messy behind the scenes. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
I'm so sorry.
Definitely like the trademark thing.
Yeah.
But
yes. I always say, as soon as you've got the name, go register the name, go get the domain, go get it, buy it. Even if you're not ready to do anything, go buy it so that you can show first use. Right. Sounds like you know about that. And then as soon as you're ready to go get that trademark, go get it. Go get it. I mean, you got to do the search first, obviously, but then go get that. Again, that's hugely helpful in showing that you had the right and the first use of that. And branding is big. We know that it's branding, because it's it tells a story about what you're doing and how you're doing it and differentiates you from everybody else doing something similar.
Yeah, no, for sure. So as women then move into protecting themselves and their business and their brand and shoring up different things legally,
Mhm.
with contracts and terms and conditions, which I'm like, we have to be able to have those. And I actually believe that even with contracts, it's this, if we're getting into partnerships, contracts can
Yeah,
actually help protect friendships and really provide clear
definitely.
guidelines and backgrounds, or like clear like job descriptions and who's in charge of what. So I'm sure that there are women here that are like, obviously we're big on collaboration. So how would you encourage women to protect themselves legally when it does come to partnerships and collaboration and like joint ventures or that type of a thing?
Yeah, you hit it. Honestly, you hit it. I suspect that maybe you've either thought about or thought it would probably be a good idea to have a contract here. You're 100% right. And the way that I look at it is twofold. The first is that it is a relationship saver. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. Because you guys can have text messages and emails and conversations, and you think that you are sharing the same vision and you have the right understanding, but something may be a little bit missed there, or somebody has a change of heart and things disintegrate somehow. It is the absolute best way to preserve the relationship because you have it there and you make it clear. And then the second part is that if you introduce a third party, the attorney, to draft what you want to have, and it can be the ideal situation that everybody's happy with, you make it clear. There's no heretofore, whereas I am 100% against legalese. You should be able. I hate it. I don't understand the egomaniacs that continue to want to have language in their contracts that no one can understand or explain
Yeah,
except an attorney. Like,
totally.
not helpful. It should be crystal clear. You should be able to pick anybody off the street and they'll be able to understand exactly where the money should go, how it's going to be divided, who's going to be doing what. It just needs to be plain and clear. And when you do that, you got to take the time to do that. That's one of the ones that you can't, that's not the essential bundle for the first wave, because it does take a little bit more hands on time because you're drafting something that is unique to those people in that situation.
Right.
But if you can get with somebody that understands kind of your environment and then is able to take it and put it into a contract that is clear and understandable, it makes all the difference. And
Totally.
then you don't have to worry and sleep, lose sleep at night and all of that. And I am in the process of doing that myself with um, a friend that I work with that is doing my web design. I'm referring all the web business over to him and working that out and making sure that we're completely on board because I don't want to get halfway into it and rely on relationship. Because if you're
Yeah,
relying on relationship with a question mark as to a dispute, you're already on the wrong side.
totally. And it's hard now in today's world. Like, it used to be like a handshake and you were good, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it just isn't like that anymore. And so we have to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
our part to have those contracts and to protect ourselves and to protect the people around us and our business
Totally.
entity and all of that stuff. So I love
Yeah.
that you're providing those resources for female entrepreneurs because I think that so many times, I know even for me, it's
Mm-hmm.
like when I first started, it was this whole new world of all the stuff you don't know that you
Right.
don't know, right? So, um, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So what would you encourage women who they are, say, if they are just starting out, like the women that you really see come into your ecosystem, what would you
Mm-hmm.
encourage them to do right away in order to protect what it is that
Mm-hmm.
they're doing. Because I know so many times for us where, it's we're these heart-centered entrepreneurs who like what it is that we're building, it really means something. And it typically is a part of our
Mm-hmm.
story, or it's coming from something that we've learned. And it's this passion project, or it's this thing that is helping
Yes.
support our families, and it's this hopes and these dreams and
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. So it's not nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not like we're like
No.
peddling whatever on the side of the road. Like it's not nothing. And we actually really want to be intentional about protecting that stuff. So how
Yeah.
would you say to those women who they're like, oh, okay, this is like, oh, I've seen some red flags. I haven't had any contracts in place. I don't even have a terms and conditions on my website. Like, help me, Beth. I need your help.
Yes.
What would you say to them?
Yeah. So I would say I want to talk. I want to talk to you. I want to set up an hour so that we can look at what do you do? What do you love? Understand your business.
Yeah.
Understand your desire, your goal, where you want to be in 5 years. And then figure out what you need. And where you are really truly vulnerable, what can wait for another 6 months, what you might be looking at in the future, kind of break it down. I just call it a foundations audit.
Yeah.
And I haven't released it yet, but I'm releasing it this week, so it's good timing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, uh, when when we finally get the web part of it, the design part of it done, which everything takes 10 times longer than you think it will. I thought I was going to have this ready last week, but it basically just kind of breaks down in a checklist for a new or younger, like let's say 2 to 3 year old business, the things that you need. So I'd say take a look at that when I release it. But number one is I want to sit down and have a Zoom call with you and walk through your business for at least an hour so that we can figure out what you need. That's what I would do, because I everything is so specialized to the person. I mean, yes, maybe just the essential bundle, sort of that foundational element will be enough for a lot of people, and it may not be for others. And some people may have like an immediate dispute that is going on or issue, and I just want to help in a way that is very specific to each person. So
So
right now,
what would you say some of those
go ahead.
essential, what would you say some of those essential, like essential things that women would need to have on their radar?
Any the way that you're making money, okay, the way that you are making money is going to be absolutely, it needs to be buttoned down. So if anybody's paying you that transaction, there should be language that covers how that transaction is done. All right. Then anybody that you're working with, are you in partnerships with anybody? Do you have, like you were talking about, affiliates? Anybody that you are inviting on the podcast, or they're a guest on your podcast, how do you handle what they will do with that material? There's all these different little things. So you look at, what does your business look like, and how is money changing hands, and how are the relationships crossing over? Those are the two things I look at. And then I look at your business as a whole. And then we look at your brand, your passion, your vision, and what the marketplace how it could make you vulnerable. In other words, especially legally, are you protected? If you love this name, let's protect this name. This is your baby,
Totally.
Those are the biggies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I will say too, like on that relationship element, if you are paying other people to work with you, that is a huge area of risk. Huge area. And so that's probably one of the areas that most entrepreneurs get in trouble, is they're hiring somebody and they're not hiring correctly, and they're opening themselves up to potential employment liability, especially for misclassification, right? So that means you are paying someone as an independent contractor, and under your state law, it may actually be an employee. And that's a big area. I have represented many, many small business owners who've gotten into trouble with that. So that is a biggie, but you want to have a contract that makes it clear. So if it's an independent contractor and it satisfies that independent contractor analysis, which is a federal tax type of analysis, if they're truly an independent contractor, great, but you better have a contract for that.
Right.
That is absolutely necessary. And if you have an employee, I do recommend you have an employment contract as well.
Yeah. No, that's so good to know. I love that. Well, you guys can definitely hear that she's passionate about helping us protect the assets that we are building and the businesses that we are building, protecting ourselves, protecting our communities, protecting our intellectual property. So, Beth, how can people find you, follow you, dive into your world, get that foundations assessment, and just really start to take intentional steps? To really treat it like a business. Like, like I think that that's even a big
Yeah.
understanding that, gosh, like, no, like this isn't like your little side hustle. You're not like, just like stop paying people on Venmo. If you, I think
Right.
this is what really bugs me in the business world is there's a lot of people, you don't even need a website to just take people's money and
Mm,
to have a product. And
mm.
that might be true. And like treat your thing like a business. Like what you're doing is
That's
valuable
right.
like a business, protect it like
Hmm.
a business, like get pieces and parts in place like a business.
Yep.
Um,
That's right.
I'm just gonna go on
Totally.
that soapbox for a
If you
minute.
don't, if you don't take your business seriously, if you don't have a public website presence, even if it's not sophisticated, even if really it is a landing page, let's be honest,
Totally.
but you got to have that. If you don't take it seriously, really, truly, no one else is going to. Nobody other than your, church friends and family, So yes, that is, I'm 100% in agreement with you
High
on
five,
that.
sister. High
Totally.
five.
High
Like
five
business.
on that. And I think the problem is that a lot of people think if I take it seriously, I'm going to end up, it feels like it's so much money. And you're in that sort of scarcity mindset and you're in that like lack mindset and you think you can't pay the money to do that. But if you really are passionate about doing what you want to do, this is really something that you feel called to do, then take it seriously.
Yeah,
And if you take it seriously, you're going to have to spend some money on the front end and you're going to have to feed and nurture that baby, as you go along.
totally.
And legal's certainly a part of it, but it's certainly not just that. It's all of it. It's the coaching and the mindset work. All of it.
Yeah.
You did ask me where can people find me? So
Yeah.
the website is Lionaco, LIONA.com. And I'm on Instagram at Beth A. Stanfield. Beth A. Stanfield. And then also Liona Law on Instagram as well. So when I get this Business Foundations checklist ready to go, I will announce it on the Instagram, the socials, the Facebook. But definitely, if you're ready to go now, if you're like, I need that 1 hour. If you're serious about your business, it is free for you. It is free for female entrepreneurs that are serious about their business. I want to spend a free hour with you figuring out what you need. So, just go to Lionaco and just fill out a consult form. That's all you need to do.
Love it. Love it. Well, Beth, thank you so
Yeah.
much for providing such valuable, not only knowledge, information for the free consult. I think that this is an area that female entrepreneurs that we can improve on, you guys, that we can step up, step up our game on this in this space and really treat what it is that we're doing professionally and treat what it is that we're doing. I hear so many women, they're like, oh, like what colors do I pick for my brand? And they like get caught in the weeds of like the brand and the color and the name and all that stuff, which is great. Like that's important. And none of that's going to matter
Mm-hmm.
if it gets taken away. None of that's going to matter if you are
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable and exposed in different legal ways. And people are just going to can come
Right.
you or your family or your house or whatever it is. So protect yourself,
Right.
take yourself seriously, take your
Mm-hmm.
business seriously, get contracts in place, protect friendships that are in place if you're going into collaborations.
Yes.
Soapbox, mic drop, Maddie.
You said it. You got it. You got it. I'm like, you spending all that time on the brand and the colors and that. I get it. It feels like it's like this biggest decision, but like meanwhile, 6 months have gone by and you're not in motion. You're still picking the colors.
Yeah.
Listen, I have been there, so I understand. But that's why we have each other, because we help get each other out of our heads and into motion.
Yep.
Otherwise, we would get stuck up there.
Totally. Not meant to do it alone. We are absolutely meant to do it together. So, all
That's
right, Beth.
right.
Well, thank you so much for your
All right.
time. Super excited for the ladies listening to reach out to you and just to really help protect themselves and get contracts in place and what it is that they need for their
Yes.
business. So, you guys listening, make sure that you reach out to Beth if you have questions legally. She is an absolute rock star in this area and has helped people in business, men and women entrepreneurs at the highest level. And I just love her heart to now just really help set solid foundations for us as female entrepreneurs and as women in business, because we're meant for big things and we can't do that without solid foundations. The stronger a foundation is, the higher it can go. And legal is definitely one of the pieces, most important pieces in our foundation. So shore up your foundation, reach out to Beth, and together we rise. So, all right, Yay! Beth, thank you so much.
That's right.
Here, and we will see you guys.
You're so welcome.
Yes, we will see you guys next time. As always, cheers to your success. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.